This is something that the president campaigned on repeatedly. The Health and Human Services Secretary, Alex Azar, saying that it's something that the president asks him about daily. He starts and ends the conversation with how do we get these drug prices down. One of the things we heard the president bring up, and then also former Health and Human Services Secretary, Mr. Levitt, Michael Levitt, explained to us just as we went into that speech by the president, is that the Europeans are paying far less for the exact same drugs. In fact, if we have a highlight from that speech, here is the president indeed making that point. Okay, we're going to hang tight on that. So when we have that, we'll bring it to you. But he effectively said, look, you know, you can go out and buy the exact same pill in Europe, same exact thing, and it's going to cost you a few dollars. Whereas here in the United States of America, it's costing you hundreds of dollars. So why is that? How is that? And how do we fix that? Because why should the U.S. be subsidizing effectively the rest of the world? Joining me with reaction, family and emergency medicine doctor Janette Nesheiwat and Heritage Foundation senior fellow Ed Haislmaier. Good to see you both. Dr. Janette, starting with you. How is that? Indeed, how is that? Why is it that in Switzerland, and we've been showing everybody the numbers, they're paying far less for something than your patients, Dr. Janette, are?
Trish, that was a great speech, music to my ears. And what that means to me is that my patients are going to actually live longer and be able to afford their medications. But one thing that our President Trump said is we're going to eliminate the middleman. And that probably refers to the PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, who are taking a lot of those rebate savings, which those in other countries don't have. In other countries, the government directly negotiates the prices with the pharmaceutical companies, which in our country, we cannot do that. That is illegal for the federal government to directly negotiate, Medicare and Medicaid to directly negotiate prices with the pharmaceutical companies. So that definitely may play a role, and it is unfair. And so I'm so happy to see that the changes are on way.
So it's illegal for us to negotiate with the pharma companies. Is this, as Secretary Levitt said, because you're concerned about, you know, the federal government basically picking the winners and losers and saying, okay, we're going with that drug as opposed to that one?
And that's why, exactly, I love the fact that our president touted the idea of the federal government directly negotiating with the pharmaceutical companies and eliminating the middlemen, the PBMs, because as it is right now, we have the most advanced medicine and technology in the world. And yet I still have patients who are having to decide, should they spend their money on their medications or food? And that's heartbreaking to me. And, you know, if you don't have your cancer medicine or your diabetes medicine, it can be life-threatening. So this definitely is detrimental to the impact of many patients in this country.
Yeah, no, it's wild to think that. And it's unfortunate in such a tremendous country with so many advantages and such a wonderful standard of living that people are actually put in that position. But here's the president. Ed, I want to get your reaction to what he said. Listen to him here.
When foreign governments extort unreasonably low prices from U.S. drug makers, Americans have to pay more to subsidize the enormous cost of research and development. In some cases, medicine that costs a few dollars in a foreign country costs hundreds of dollars in America for the same pill, with the same ingredients, in the same package, made in the same plant, and that is unacceptable.
So, Ed, how do we change it?
Well, I think it's interesting that the president's talking about this as a trade issue, because in some ways it really strikes me as that's exactly right. If you think about it, this is very similar to his complaint about the Europeans not carrying their fair share of NATO, for example. So what's going on here is, and it was interesting he used the word extort, because that's what's happening. A country says to the U.S. drug maker, well, we won't cover your drug, meaning we won't let our citizens have access to your medicine unless you provide us with a much lower price. Now, if that was any other product, I think we would call that an unfair trade practice. So there's some very interesting things going on there.
Indeed. It is interesting, right, that this is becoming, in fact, a trade issue, Dr. Janette.
And it shouldn't be.
I just think it's all fascinating, right? I mean, how do you lower prices while still maintaining a competitive enough spirit, while still maintaining enough excitement about industries that companies are rewarded for creating these drugs? I mean, there's a reason, right, that the U.S. is so supreme in this sector, and it has to do with, there's a lot of financial reward. I mean, if you start a drug company overseas and you're selling it overseas, you're not going to make as much as selling it here in the U.S. So how do you preserve that willingness to go out and invest in research and R&D while simultaneously making sure that consumers aren't getting stuck with the highest prices in the world?
And like our president said, it's a complicated process, but with the focus on his strategies of increasing competition to help lower drug prices, that's very important, as well as transparency. It's important to know what you're paying for. Why are there all these hidden fees? And at the end of the day, it's important for patients to be informed and aware that they can shop around. They can look for other prices, cheaper prices. They should ask for generics. They should ask for 90-day supply, use mail order pharmacies, which can save them lots of money. So it's unfair to the patients and consumers to not have all the options presented to them.
What about that gag rule? I mean, my goodness, that's horrible. I mean, the idea, Ed, that a pharmacist isn't allowed to say, hey, you know, there's a coupon for this, or, you know, maybe if you go try buying it from, you know, some other place, you'll get a better deal?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you brought that up, because one of the things about this whole issue, and also about the president's package of proposals here, is there's some things that are designed to lower the cost of drugs themselves. But there are other things that are really designed to be more transparent or less costly to the patient. So, for example, I just was reading a study the other week that showed that was estimating how many of these insurance plans have co-pays that are higher than the cost of buying the generic drug yourself.
Oh, my goodness.
And I thought that was and that's what they're talking about, that you can't be told that. Now, I thought that was very interesting, because I personally have, through my employer, I picked the health savings account approach. So when I go and get a generic drug refilled, instead of having a $15 copay, I pay the $8.49 for the drug until I meet my deductible, and then the plan pays for it. So you see, that's some of the stuff that's going on here. Is it's not just about the actual price of the drug. And this is where we get into some of the middlemen and the other things. It's what is the patient paying? Same thing with specialty drugs. If you look and you see a formulary tier that says, well, this much for generic, this much for branded is your copay, and for specialty drugs you have a high copay. Well, what's a specialty drug? Well, often it's simply a costly drug. But insurance plans don't say, well, you have a higher copay because that's a specialty operation as opposed to a regular operation.
You know, finally, truly, I mean, we just need a little common sense in there. We need somebody to actually take a leadership role and not be afraid of the big bad pharma companies and all the lobbyists, et cetera, that may threaten them with fewer campaign funds, and say, look, this is what is needed. We need to look out for the American people. We need to look out for Dr. Janette's patients who, you know, are struggling between, do you pay for food or your drugs this month? That is a tragedy.